Let's get talking now. The Bola Tinubu, the All Progressives Congress presidential candidate, has been declared by the Independent National Electoral Commission as the winner of the February 25 presidential election. While in the final results declared by INEC, Chairman Mahmoud Yakubu at the National Collation Center, Abuja, on Wednesday morning, where the election results of each state were presented over 3 days ago. Tinubu gathered about 8.7 million votes across 12 states to emerge the president-elect. However, Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party followed closely, scoring about more than 6.9 million votes across 12 states, and Peter Obi of the Labour Party garnered about more than 6.1 million votes from 12 states as well to become the third. While former Kano State Governor Rabi Kwankwaso of the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, finished fourth in the election with about 1.4 million votes. However, what is new is that there are controversies and of course around the election already, and a lot of people say these of course may be what will create a kind of issues in the coming days. So we'll take a look at how that will affect business activities and economy in the coming days. Well, we've been joined right now by Sumbo Badejoko, Policy and Public Affairs Analyst. He joins us via the telephone now. Thank you for joining us, and good to have you today on board.
Good to be here again. Good morning.
Yeah. So let me ask you first to give us your assessment. It took 4 days for INEC, including Saturday, or almost 5 days, to conclude this presidential election. So what's your assessment so far?
Well, in terms of the collation, because that's what actually dragged the thing for that long, we could not say there's an improvement. But when we look at the overall outcome, there's a bit of message that has been passed across and plenty of takeaway. Holding on to the fact that we now have a formidable third force, if not a fourth one, but at least you have three major parties winning 12 states each. And that is significant and is unprecedented in the history of our elections. So that's the takeaway, and which would help the president-elect to perform better, because he would be having at the back of his mind that he hasn't gotten an easy ride, and that will put him on his toes. That if he should make mistake, Nigerians will not give him a second chance.
Okay. The whole process, however, had not been without controversies, with Labour Party and PDP, also ADC, calling for the cancellation of the election, arguing that INEC did not comply with the law in collecting and announcing results. So what message really does it send? Because it was a tight election. So what kind of message does this send across to international community, business communities as well, and of course economists?
Well, there's a bit of disappointment on the part of INEC as regards what was promised and what eventually played out. And what they gave as reason, it was seen as excuses. And of course, Nigerian politicians, the way they are, the desperation level is always very high at election time. And whatever position you see those parties that have lost out are taking now is because they did not win the election. If they had won the election, it would have been a different ball game. But you look at an election where the winner lost his own home state, and all the stakeholders of the party also did not win the election. But eventually they were able to just emerge winner by whisker. I would not want us to dwell on what the position of the Labour Party and that of the other political party
PDP
that joined them the PDP, I wouldn't want us to now use that as a yardstick. We have observers who are giving reports. They also expressed their disappointment in INF as regards the transmission that wasn't really done. Though they did the transmission, they just denied people access to viewing. And we are supposed to all be viewing from our respective places, through our phone or any other device that can have internet access. But we could not do that. And they were claiming that they were attempts. Of course, if they were attempts, you don't expect them to just allow the attempt to continue and compromise the system. But in terms of the position of the law, I'm not a lawyer, but from what I understand from my little layman, INEC has not violated the law as regards the collation, because the law did not ask them to collate electronically. They were still going to collate manually. They were only to transmit the polling unit result into the server for viewers, for viewing by the public. That is what has not been done. The collation was being used based on what they got from the polling unit. And if they have any contest as regards that, I think that's why we have the judiciary to step in, so they know what to do rather than inciting what is not necessary in the public through the media.
It's all right. I mean, so how much of that will cost the country now that it looks like this election will cost the country to go into litigation period?
The litigation is not going to be a burden on the nation. It will still be a burden on the political parties, which is not the nation. We should be looking at what will be the benefit of the outcome to the nation. You know, all of them have their economic agenda, and now one has emerged. And of course, the stakeholders within the economy will begin to review the economic agenda of the winner now and see how they would, whether it is in line with what they have as their own personal projection, and how would the international community. Let me give an immediate observation. Bloomberg reported yesterday that the Nigerian bond is appreciating, and that is one positive sign, because they leverage that on the fact that the president-elect would institute policies that would promote, that would bring about alternative generation of this revenue for the country, which is a positive development, and that would bring about encouragement for those who will be with investors to come into the country. But there are some other variables that until it becomes fully in charge, that will determine whether or not they will eventually come, like the issue of security is still right there at the background. And of course, the new commander-in-chief will have to give new mandate or fresh mandate to the security institutions like the armed forces, and of course the police and the other paramilitaries that are saddled with the responsibility of securing the nation. So until that is improved, we may not really be having that aggressive increase in terms of the economic development that we expect. So there will still be, things will still take a slow turn, but the economy is already responding to the results. That is one thing we should be looking at as a nation, and what not the litigation. The litigation is not going to be a cost.
Okay,
a burden, financial burden on the nation at all.
I asked that question because, I mean, the country, or perhaps the leadership, could be distracted. Remember, we have about 12 weeks to, or less than 12 weeks to May 29, when the president-elect eventually will be sworn in. So the process of that to that date is what I'm concerned, because there could be distraction on the part of government not to focus on the economy and what to do.
That will be distraction, because each of the candidates have their own legal team in place.
Right.
They are aware of the situation. It is the responsibility of the legal team to prepare the papers and, of course, file the necessary complaint and defense, as the case may be. So, in the part of the winner, they will be the one to file their defenses to whatever the complaints will be from them. Of course, some of them have been expressed, some have not been expressed. But using what has been expressed to be a starting point to know, okay, they have mentioned these are the areas that we need to start with. And whatever also, they have 21 days to do that across board. And once the tribunal starts, that is when they began to now know what other areas. And I don't think it's going to take a long time, because they may round up the whole thing before the president is eventually sworn in.
Okay, let's look at the. I mean, we have president-elect in waiting now. So let's look at the economic policies, the manifesto. What are the expectations? How is the business community responding to these announcements, so to say, with regards to focusing on stabilizing the economy, regards to getting the economy on the path of growth? So these are issues, because if you look at the Naira issue, crisis is there, the issue of petrol scarcity is there. Also waiting for the coming government is the issue of subsidy that is yet to be removed, which of course the current administration say by June which you have that implemented.
Well, the current administration made that pronouncement on behalf of the next administration, because by June it is a new government that will be in place, and they have stylishly pushed it off their own neck to the neck of the next administration. But that is the obvious economic reality that the nation will have to face. The other thing, the thing that we will now need to be looking at, and what the president-elect will be working on aggressively, what will you give back to the country in place of subsidy? And how would you be able to put measures in place that would cushion the effect or the impact of the subsidy on both the economy and the citizenry? So that is what will be the focus. And if you look at the economic agenda that the president-elect, they all have met through various town hall, they met with all the stakeholders of the economy. And of course, they have given their promises. Whether or not it contributed to their to the emergence of this president, or that's another thing entirely, because we know most of this elite and the captain of industry hardly come out to vote at the election, but they will be at the background waiting to see who emerges before they know how to engage the person. Now, he too is having that at the back of his mind. He will first of all be thinking of how to engage Dangote Group to know how and when the refinery will be coming up, because we cannot go into full-fledged subsidy removal without having a functional refinery back home. It's going to backfire. And we cannot afford to push the subsidy regime beyond the June period that has been set, because it's already affecting our revenue, and revenue is slowing down the infrastructural build-up that the current administration is trying to put in place. And when there is a slow in that, it will also delay investment. Delay in investment will mean delay in creation of employment opportunity, and the unemployment figure will remain at 33%. But when that is removed, it means that the employment opportunity will be there. Expect the president-elect to be looking at the stakeholders within the power sector, how he will be able to unbundle the national grid. We don't need it. A country of 220 million population cannot rely on a single grid for transmission of electricity, and that is why the generation is not able to depart from the level that it is to the level that it ought to be. So they have to unbundle the grid, map out the nation into economic zone, and let there be mini grids for each of the zones, depending on the capacity that the zones will be needing. And with that, the industries will be able to ignite and expand further, because it will bring down the cost of production. What this is saying is affecting the cost of production. It has led to serious job loss in the manufacturing sector, which is contributing to the unemployment figures that we currently have. But by the time they are getting power at a cheaper rate, they will be able to expand their potentials. Don't forget, we have a market here with 200 million population in Africa. Is a market, a guaranteed market. What we just need to put all the necessary measures in place for the industries to thrive. We are now in the tech world. We need to really look into that direction. Then we need to look at how we will convert our agricultural value chain to improve the industry, so that all job loss, don't forget the refinery that we'll be having will also be cutting so many importations. Will not only be will not only stop the importation of the petroleum products, but as well as the other close to 21 byproducts that the crude oil has, because we only focus on the main three, but we don't look at the other byproducts that the crude oil contains. All these things will now be within the economy. Rather than importing them, we will be exporting because we cannot consume everything by ourselves. So
that's right.
These are things that will be going on in the mind of the president-elect, and he needs to be engaging the stakeholders that are involved in all of this, because he needs to let them know his agenda on time before he comes into office, so that once he takes over the administration, he will hit the ground running.
Now, if you remember in 2015, it took a whole lot of time, to put the cabinet members together, talking about the current administration. Do you see that happening this time? And should that happen, let's speak to the consequences that may arise from that, looking at the current situation and the current state of the economy.
To be looking at, to be imagining the consequences, because I am 100% certain that that is not going to happen. We're not going to be waiting for much time before we have the cabinet in place. By June, we will be having the cabinet. What would delay it till June ending or thereabout is because the National Assembly will have to come on board, and they are the one that will do what approve this appointment or the ministerial appointment. Until the approval is done by the Senate, we cannot have a cabinet in place. So once the National Assembly overcome the teething problem, because a good number of lawmakers that will be coming into the 10th Assembly, 10th Senate, are going to be inexperienced, and of course that will slow down things a little bit. So by the time they get their acts together, give them like 3 weeks. In terms of the cabinet list being ready, it will be ready even before the National Assembly is inaugurated.
I mean, but you mentioned earlier about what he should do. You talk about agriculture as well. You talk about the issue of subsidy removal as well. For you, out of all of these points that you've highlighted and put on the table, give us 1 or 2 that should be first on the agenda when the president-elect is sworn in, or when the next administration takes over.
The first would be the subsidy removal, obviously, because that is taking money away from the government, and the government needs money to function. That is the first thing that they will be thinking of. The other thing would be that to not have a too robust personnel. We don't need as much personnel that we currently have in government. We don't need those arrays of advisors to function as a government. You only need few people who are right-thinking personality. You need to just put the right pegs in the right hole. You need to have a quality team, and the fewer the number, the more quality it will give. But when they are too large, coordination and what is it called now, synergy would not be effective, and that will affect the performance of governance. That is one of the reasons why this government is not performing up to expectation. And this next administration will have to learn from that by not having a bogus team, but a few team that, once we fulfill the constitutional requirement of having an appointee, a minister per state, that should be enough. 37 ministers should be enough for the federal ministry and the federal.
Permit me to jump in a bit.
Effective.
Yeah, Mr. Badejuko, permit me to jump in a bit. I mean, how impossible, or how possibly do you think he will stream his member of cabinet? Because you talked about he doesn't need to have a huge or bogus economic team. Remember, the current administration, you said they made that mistake, but politicians sometimes the best way they can reward loyalty and effort, especially in just to reward effort, because perhaps that effort have been able to help them get into power. So that's another question. How impossible is that?
It is possible because we often focus on the main appointment, ministerial advisors. There are other appointments that can go around. We have over 100 ministries and agencies that will be required to change in leadership, based in line with the agenda of the current administration. That will go around. So for the real cabinets that will be doing the day-to-day running of the government, you don't need a bogus thing. You only need to fulfill the condition of the law, having one per state. That is enough. And even the one that you have per state, you don't need to really have expanded ministries like, where you have to have one ministry performing different functions, or their similar function with another ministry. So you need to have a clear-cut direction. Like this, this administration during the first term merged power, works, and housing together, but later they separated it, probably because they felt the workload is too much on one man, or the power sector stakeholders felt that the man is giving them problems. But they will know the reason why that was done. But the thing is, you need to have a coordinated team and right people in place that would ensure. Then the next administration needs to really look into this direction of civil service reform.
Okay. I think
there's nothing the government of the day can achieve without the cooperation of the civil service. And you cannot have the cooperation of the civil service without carrying them along with your agenda and overhauling them to be in line with what you want to achieve.
Okay. Well, it's a conversation, of course, that we will continue to, talk about here on the program in the coming days. Thank you so much, Sumba Badejiko, Policy and Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us on Business Breakfast.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's all right. Still to come after the break, we will focus on the global market as Brent crude futures for May rose by 45 cents. That's about 0.5% to $83.90 on Wednesday. Details in a moment. Please stay with us.